The Diary of a Certified Psychopath. Off the crank. A noise, a noise. As if to pay subtle homage to Groundhog Day, the tune on my tease made of life's looped samples had not altered one clamorous beat after 24 hours spent as a voluntary percussionist in humanity's 8 billion piece and rising symphony orchestra, though once again, deep amidst the resident discord of tip-up trucks dumping giant metal drumsticks into overturned timpani, otherwise known as skips, the distant melodies of British light music, performed by the very same vehicular instrumentalists, drifted across Shoreham Harbour's receding backwater. "Fine," exclaimed my resigned subconscious, having been rattled out of a dream that Coach Sandman claimed was pivotal to passive recovery. "Forgive me, in light of such repetitious disturbances, if my cyclical endeavours on this working weekend amount to little more than an embellished encore of yesterday's highly localised leg-turner to and from my hometown's eastern border." How appropriate. A skyscape worthy of Turner, having fallen out of bed on the wrong side and upside down, was my immediate impression from a seated vantage point. Not so much moody monochrome as grimy greyscale, but lightened by enough unsullied silver to lift dampened spirits. After a clear cruise over Ferry Footbridge and eagerly ogling an articulated lorry unloading several hundred litres of remotely crafted Flint Eye Lager, soon to be savoured by the lucky liquid lunching members of our ever-popular Swiss Cottage, I zigzagged my way from Eastern Avenue to Stony Lane, doubled back around Bucci Crescent, then travelled onward until I reached Kingston Broadway, where an Uber driver asked me directions to the nearest DPD drop-off point. Assuming his mobile provider was Vodafone, and in the midst of another nationwide outage, I quickly consulted Google's autonomous cartographer via my own palm-sized portal to cyberspace. "There's one at the Co-op," I responded, following a few clumsy swipes. "Go straight ahead, then take the first left, then second left off the roundabout, and first right." Would have been what I'd have said if my sense of direction functioned under any form of pressure. What I actually said was, "It's just over there, through the trees." Spout side in? A heavily abridged mobile session spanning the slim spin zone that separates radically realised fantasy from increasingly fabricated fact, during which I failed to wheel my way in to the momentous midst of Yumi's wild U-tan clang, thanks to a few too many clear and present dangers hampering my avatar's animated progress. Looking on the lighter side, and on account of the fictitiously low friction levels engendered by what remains the most forgiving physics model of any cycling simulator, I received a 3.3 kilometre or 25% distance bonus for the same metered power and perceived degree of tolerable toil, whilst negotiating similarly flat and wholly improvised loop around my hometown's lumpier perimeter. These hastily accrued metrics convert to a virtual velocity boost that typically hovered between 4 and 8 kilometres per hour, with the widest discrepancies occurring throughout the brief intervals I spent travelling over level terrain into a stiff north by northeasterly, when my unseated efforts paid far greater dividends around Watopia's windless coastline. Assuming no council-enforced detours or Martian craters had contrived to impede my solid pace, I'd have required a further 8 earthly minutes to match my artificial mileage. These insider supplements are likely to become exponentially generous as Britain's seasonally adverse conditions transform our quaint seaside resorts into storm-ravaged microclimates. And roughly one planetary pirouette later, another freely styled spin on the outdoor turbo trainer proceeded, when deserted roads at the crack of a real Sabbath dawn certainly helped my factual self maintain a consistent solo pace, and with the signal between my SRM-X power pedals and Zwift's app being uninterrupted by Bluetooth blackouts or stationary intervals at traffic lights, power output was almost constant, though keeping one's peeled eye out for mobile hazards that my pixelated persona could pass through without a rendered scratch remained tricky, whilst safely glancing down at the phone to verify I'd not drifted out of the pack's drafty confines. The pedal's integrated strain gauges were again calibrated and configured to operate in dual-sided mode with BLE enabled, before being connected to Zwift's app via its pairing screen as both the power source and cadence sensor. Adhering to the handbook of energy-saving pedalling protocols also played a pivotal role in my staying within our firm-footed robo-pacer's profitable drop zone, for long enough to bank several more bars of liquidated assets, without sliding into perceived oxygen debt. These include a centered upper body, relaxed shoulders with lateral pelvis tilts during saddled intervals to relieve the hamstrings and engage those underused hip flexors, alongside a loose grip on the handlebars, with regular transitions between the hood's tops and drops to maximize seated leverage points and ensure a balanced workload amongst all active muscle groups. The above tried and trusted techniques were combined with my equally efficient method of utilizing body weight instead of leverage to generate momentum at low cadence, by rotating below the waist throughout each unseated revolution and swinging my steed's supple frame in the opposite direction of each downward stroke.